check. How do I find it?
Just go to our website, and the link is on there.
Well, it depends on what's on the agenda. Yeah. Right, yeah, that's what I'm used to, no issue at all. This is historical session. Right. Kids around the house. Time to move on. Slow.
Did you enjoy back to school night?
Hey, pardon me?
Did you enjoy back to school?
Yes, I
night?
did. Brought
Did you
back
get-
a lot of memories.
Did you hit all of the schools?
Three elementary.
We're live on Facebook right now.
No, not on Facebook.
Or what, I'm sorry, on the district website.
I'm trying to get it back. Is it still lag?
How was your daughter's first day?
Oh, no, it stopped on me.
She's just, now you're just sitting down.
I think what, that thing out of, that was unexpected.
It's okay.
Good expectation.
Yeah, but is it?
Group with Van Allen.
That's no
They're
good.
good, they're excited.
Your books.
It's not
It's
even.
like it'd be a good group, fun group.
Sound is fine.
Yeah. Talked to a couple high schoolers.
How about now? Refresh
My
it.
high schoolers said, man, it's boring. Much different without your phone. And then you're up around and LS3 are like, so how was your first day? Yeah, boring. It's weird without your phone. I think it'll get better. It's fine.
I know, but why isn't it?
I'm sure.
It's all jumpy.
Because they had all summer to be on it all day.
And that was the norm. Wow, still good.
You know what, maybe this will break them from the addiction. Because they destroy sugars.
She goes from Miss State Fair to Miss Restaurant.
Destroy sugars.
She goes from Miss State Fair to Miss Restaurant.
She probably had sandwich rest in between.
Do you need a crown and a staff?
Yeah, it's like that.
Not a good answer.
All right, get back into it. No, close out.
Getting better, I can walk with canes and I don't.
Close out now, and then go back.
Ellen will pick and fence. All the way to the ER. So better use this. But it was gonna talk about silver cord. In fact, it was gonna talk about silver cord. In fact, there'll be 1,400 of these shirts someday out there. They're giving them to all volunteers to wear Sunday.
Where's
In Dixon. But I did work with a silver cord high school student there.
I'm just gonna let it record,
I signed the
and then
papers, and she said it's
we'll let it
required they have their silver cord
even though it's
graduate in Pleasant
jumping
Valley.
everything here.
And.
Because potentially then there'll be a recording, even if it's doing this. Well, that's, I don't, they could, if it was, if it wasn't jumping frames, but at least, you know, maybe there'll be a recording of it, so we'll just let it run.
Hello.
How are you?
Waiting for Monday to get her. Oh. The record crowds at full exercise.
Well, Mark, the plant wasn't too warm today, was it? Finally.
Yeah.
Aaron, I can do a collect your signatures.
For a Monday.
Thank you.
Had your kids do the lemonade stand. Was it them that had the lemonade stand?
Yeah, made a killing.
Really?
Sold out in 3 hours.
Oh, really? Well, I couldn't believe when I turned to come down Walnut, there was almost so much all the way down. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Pardon me?
Closed real fast. Wasn't it like when they
It is field around the house that they put in for the
leaf disease? But we're getting to maturity should be
Oh,
in a week or two.
his concern is that's what we want.
And I would keep somebody there overnight to supervise that.
You know, it was still so hot.
That's what you have to short order.
When it had milk going, that's what you do. The longer it can stay in that phase, the better for test weight, but.
Back when it was 10, when you just walked up.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what it's still making change.
No problem.
It's real stuff.
It's becoming a normal service now, just sign on board on everything. We used to try and do it in big fields. Calling them higher.
My low mind, no, I get notifications on
They just have to do
my
it.
school email,
And
half the notifications are
part of
on.
that way lasts 20 minutes.
Yeah,
So you don't-
well,
when you get it
no, it's usually about, if you want to post it.
But Pioneer was calling for 2 applications this year. I think it's between 2 and 3.
So, yeah, you
Cut
know.
out a little because I've been stolen twice. Never took me back. From the target.
It will show up someday.
I don't want to put, not yet. I want to show up on a steam engine someday.
It's even more responsibility.
No, we lost
Time,
everything.
the time is.
Oh, yeah.
Some
It's on the roll.
Acres in front of us.
firing at that thing.
Upside down.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It gives us that moisture.
Oh, I hope so. You care to wear the carousel any? We're short-handed this year.
No, I can do it.
You want it?
Yeah.
Okay. I have some shifts I can show.
You wanna run some shifts as a Catholic church? Once you sign it, I'm finished on it.
Right. That was like, pastor signed up.
Yeah, I know.
We're really fine. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Saturday. Football.
Sorry, guys.
Check 1, 2.
Start that in May. It's in 2 weeks, but I think we'll put that on the agenda. All right, I have 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Jessica, roll call.
Flint,
Here.
Mullen,
Here.
Overberg,
Here.
Williamson,
Here.
Hampton,
Here.
Maher,
Here.
Hustenka. Here.
Any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
It is a full agenda. Motion to approve agenda.
So.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Flint,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Overberg,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Hustenka.
Yes. All right, with that, we're gonna dive right in. We have Shannon here with us tonight, and we're taking our next step on our superintendent search.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be back here again. Another beautiful day. I think I was here the night before your new teachers started last time. And
That's
today I'm
right.
here
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
first day of kids. So things are moving quickly. Today's meeting, well, first of all, just really appreciate the opportunity to partner with you, to work with you. I'm very much looking forward to it. I've spent a little time in your community this afternoon, just meeting early and talking to people and getting to know people as well a little more informally. You really have a nice community. Lots of excitement here. It seemed like at the start of the school year too. So it's a fun way for me to get the school year started as well. So tonight I have a lot of information. It's going to be kind of a two-way street tonight. We're really two main focus areas that we'll really focus on tonight right away. And the first one will be, I just want to give you some more information about the process. Similar to what we did last time I was here. I want to make sure you've had any other questions or details. Make sure you walk out here with a good grasp of what's going to happen. So that's kind of my direction towards you. And the other part, the more important part tonight, is I need some information from you to help us move forward with our next steps as well too. So we'll kind of bounce back and forth between those tonight. We have a loose agenda we'll walk through, but we can go back and forth throughout the evening as well too. I know you've got a couple other things on the agenda tonight, so I'll try to keep things moving, but I don't want you to feel rushed. And we'll make sure any questions you have, we get answered tonight as well too. So it's important to get off to a good start with everything, so try not to rush, but I'll try to keep things moving as well. So I'll jump right in. Again, like I said last time, any questions you have, please don't wait. Just blurt it out, ask me, whatever, we'll make sure we get them answered. We'll start just kind of our upcoming meetings, a few things schedule-wise. It's probably a little blurry for you to see. I shared this with you last time, a similar version of it. This meeting happened pretty quickly after our last conversation. The next formal meetings for us won't be for a little while out there. So this is really our next meeting, formal session will be, as we review applications. We'll be have communications going back and forth between them, but next time we'll want to schedule as a formal closed session to review all the candidates, and I'll provide you a summary of those candidates. I'll share that with you, what that looks like in a few minutes.
So Shannon, the next time you would need time at a meeting is the regular board meeting in October?
It depends what timeline we set today.
Okay.
So it could even be as late as early December for reviewing the candidates as well too, but that depends on what timeline we want to finalize tonight. I did put at the bottom of the page, I would like to join you for a meeting either in person or via Zoom to share your survey results with you. And that one I anticipate is part of our October meeting, but we'll finalize those dates here in a few minutes too. And then after we review applications, then we'll jump right into semi-finalist interviews, and then in-person interviews, and kind of follow-up work there too. So there's a very big picture view of kind of where we're going. The specific things I want to make sure we cover tonight. Establish a hiring timeline, that's a really important one. The dates, nobody likes playing the calendar game, but the earlier we can play that and get dates set helps us, all of us, to protect those dates, and also allows us to share that information with candidates so they can protect those dates as well too for interviews, things like that. So we'll do that here relatively soon. We want to get like 4 dates on your calendar. That's the hardest part of the evening. So if we can knock that out pretty quickly, we'll be in good shape. Other pieces I want to go through to review the stakeholder survey. I've got kind of a draft I'll share with you tonight. I want some feedback from you on how that could look, and we'll kind of finalize the timeline for that as well. We want to go through the salary and benefits package. Doesn't have to be detailed, but we need to at least have a salary range. That helps us to promote the position. It just avoids people playing the game of how much they paid. We just want to be very transparent with that up front. You don't have to have an exact amount. A range is good enough. We'll go through the draft of the job posting. We have it on our website right now, that the opening is there, but there's not any content to it yet. So once we get through tonight and get some details from you on that, then we'll add more information, then we will really start marketing the position once we have those details in place. I don't know if you have any internal candidates or not. At some point, we're gonna wanna talk through how you wanna handle that. Our recommendation would be, if you have anybody internal, we would treat them like every other candidate. We would do the background checks, we would do all our references, treat them as like every other candidate, but that's up to you to give me feedback. I don't even know if that applies to you, but we always wanna be sure that's a point we wanna discuss early in the process typically too. We'll review the formal interview schedules, talk about kind of how we like to have those run. But like I told you last time, we work for you, so what we're proposing isn't quite what you envision, or you want to do something different, we'll adjust it, that's not a problem. And then any questions you have as well. Sound good? Hopefully that matches kind of what you thought you were getting into tonight.
Yep.
All right, so I shared this last time as well. Now we'll start to dig into these pieces. We'll start to plan the search, the hiring, the timeline, identify the desired qualifications, advertise the job and recruit candidates, kind of our next steps to take and run with. Then interview teams and questions. It's a ways off yet, but just start to think that through. We'll talk about that. And then the back half of those were things for us to look at later on. So really right now, we're in about this stage right here, probably part of the top right-hand corner. Kind of covered a few of these things already. Timeline for the hire, benefits and stakeholder stuff, we'll jump right into that. The one thing I do want to bring up before I forget is the formal interview process. We try to be as transparent as possible with you, and we would encourage you to be as transparent as possible with your community, but there's also some things we need to be careful of and be confidential with as well. So we'll talk about that in a little more detail as well. But one piece I want to kind of start with in the end and work backwards is typically we tell candidates their application is confidential until we get to the final round of interviews. That way they feel comfortable, hopefully, investigating the district, applying, going through the process, and if they don't make the final round of interviews, they're not putting themselves out there on a limb unnecessarily. We tell them also we think it's important that the community that's doing the hiring has some awareness as well, so that we think that's the balance, is when if they're a finalist, that becomes public. And we would do a press release, some quotes and share that information with you that way. So that's how we try to walk that process typically. If that sounds all right with you, that's how we'll plan to proceed. If you have different thoughts, let us know. We don't think it should be totally open. I think it's important to give some confidentiality until that final stage to encourage more applicants. We also don't think it should be totally closed. It's not fair to your community, and nobody likes a surprise as well too. So, any thoughts on that one right away? As a kind of start with the top one right away.
I think it makes sense. I mean, unless some candidates are open that they're looking to move on, or some of the candidates might not be. So I understand both sides of it, and no sense in making extra work before. So I don't.
Are candidates told that they make it to the final round before?
Are they told if they'll be public once it gets to the final round?
Are they told before, at the final round, that they are into the final round? And if anything changes on their end before, they can withdraw?
Correct.
Before that?
Yes, so they can withdraw anytime in the process. We don't see that often, but it does happen. Typically it happens more in the springtime when they may get another job. But you guys are so early, I don't anticipate that being a problem. But we do tell candidates as soon as they can apply, that we'll keep their application confidential until if they make the final round. And we'll tell them from the very beginning that it'll be public at that stage. Occasionally somebody will pull out because of that, but it's very rare. Did that answer your question?
Are they notified either way before final round, whether they do it or not?
Yes. Yep, thank you. Yes, we notify them. They're notified if they're made candidate, finalized candidates. We don't tell them at that stage that they're not a final candidate, only because sometimes you may want to add another person back in later, or something may come up that way. So we don't tell them no until the final hiring's done. But if they are made a final candidate, We tell them ahead of time, here's when the press release will go out so they can plan accordingly.
Right, that's it. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Eventually got your question.
So Shannon, until the finalists, it's closed,
Correct.
and after that, it'll be open, and that's kind of what I was expecting.
Yep, it's a nice succinct way of saying it. Yep. Okay, so the consensus on that one for now, and that's what we'll move forward with. Let's start with the timeline, the dates first. One, because the calendar game is never fun, but two, it also allows us in our future conversations, the next half hour or so, to have specifics instead of hypotheticals. So a couple of things that I want to talk through with you, the dates we need to try to set tonight. And we can try to align these to your current board meetings if you'd like, or work sessions, or we can schedule them as different dates. It does not make any difference to me at all. So that's kind of up to you. The first window, we'll kind of start at the bottom, is the stakeholder survey. If you remember, that's a survey that we have created a draft, and I'll share with you in a little bit. We would encourage that you would share that with anybody and everybody in your community. Whatever communications you use in your district, electronically, or we also give you a link you can post for people to, paper options if that works for them, to complete the survey, but whatever way you can share it with your community, the better. The more responses we get, the better data we have. So what we would propose as a starting point is September 22nd to October 12th. That gives us a nice 3 to 4 week window for a survey. If you get any longer than that, people tend to forget about it. We could easily move that up earlier if you'd like. This is unique. We don't usually have this early of a search. So usually we're a little more condensed time frame with the back end of the hiring window. So we've got some time to play with today, which is a good problem to have. We can start that as early as next week if you'd like, and to go 3 weeks after that. It's kind of a matter of what you think is the best time to capture your audience. I know you have a big weekend coming up, so I would not recommend doing that now. But whenever you feel like is the natural early time period, because that, like I said last time, that data becomes really important to you to help determine your candidates. It also becomes really important for us because we build all of our interview questions, all of our next steps based on that survey data. And we also share it with candidates. So earlier for us is just fine.
I know, we have homecoming at the end of the month, so there'll be lots of extra communication going out then, so I almost think that's the beginning of homecoming. That probably, like the week after Labor Day would make probably more sense to have that window before all of the other stuff starts to go on in the district.
I'm looking at the calendar and I'm seeing September 8th, the second Monday in September to lead off.
Yeah, I would say move it up.
So if we go the 8th, that would take us 1, 2, 3 weeks and put us about September 29th, essentially. We could go September 30th, so you can just say till the end of September if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the easy one, because it doesn't involve anybody's calendar commitments. So September 8th to the 30th. Okay.
It's open for that long?
Yes.
Those 3 weeks?
Yep. We can go shorter if you want, we can go longer if you want.
Do you tend to get a lot of responses after the first so many days?
It really depends on how much you communicate information out. We definitely get a surge of responses right away in the first couple days. And then what we've noticed is that if the district has weekly newsletters or however they blast information out, every time a blast to go out, we'd see another surge of responses. But 3 weeks is definitely long enough. We typically go 2, but like I said, we're usually a little more condensed time frame, so it's totally up to you.
So we certainly have we have our social media pages, we can use Infinite Campus, we can get everything out there. What do you provide for it? You provide a QR code and some of the language?
Nice segue right to this slide. So, yeah, so what we have here is just a draft of language. Essentially, we'll give you the QR code there. We'll also give you a live link. It will take you to the same place. So you can post it, people can scan it with their phone and do the link, or they can click on the link to do the search as well. So either one of those. The link for them at that time, we'll update the dates here as well, so they will know as they're looking at the survey, the entire hiring process. And the more times we can hear that from us, the better. You can use this if you'd like. Some people, almost everybody does, but some people create their own. You're more than welcome to do that as well, based on how your typical communications go out. But we will send you the link, we'll send you a draft of this form, and then you can take it from there and
So what do you think about direct mailers? Shannon over, sorry, Eric over here.
No,
What do you
it's
think
okay.
about direct mailers?
It throws me every time you talk, because the sound's coming from over here. It's messing with me. Yeah, direct mailers, we have seen, the feedback we get from districts that do direct mailers is it's a lot of work, and they don't always see a lot of value from it necessarily on specific amount of feedback, but I think it does create awareness. If they're not already aware of the process and the timeline, it does at very minimum serve that process, or that purpose, I should say. What I hear from districts and my personal experience is people, the mail just gets lost amongst all the other things, but if you want to make sure you hit every base possible, it's certainly an option.
Well, when we did a survey earlier this spring, we did do, as part of it was a direct mailer, and it didn't make it to everybody, and so that was an issue as well. I never got mine, period. So I know with mass mailings, there are little nuances in the US Postal Service as well, so.
Yeah, bulk mailings do have some complications sometimes too.
So are we responsible for the, are we responsible for the mailers, or do you guys?
Yeah, that'd be something you guys could do if you want to, it'd kind of be your responsibility. I would say most districts do not do that, some do, it just depends on their unique circumstances or kind of what they typically do. Sometimes it depends, if they have another mailer going out, they'll just add this to it. Very few people, I'd say, create a separate mailer. But that's something you can decide in the course of the next month as well, it doesn't have to be a final decision now, because you'll have, it could be something after the first week, if you're not seeing the responses you want, then you can always put together a follow-up, a mailer, or we could even extend the window if you want to.
Is there a number of responses you'd be looking for? A target?
That's a great question. No, we don't really have a target number. We usually see a couple hundred responses. I feel like that's pretty good. It gives us a good database to work with. Some will get closer to that. The other piece is we do encourage people to share with high school students. And if that happens, we tend to see numbers go up quite a bit. Students are going to be a little more responsive to that piece as well. So it really depends on how you want to approach who you reach out to and how often you reach out to them.
Yeah, I say we don't plan on doing a direct mailer at first. As far as physical copies go, we do kind of like we did with the other one. We have copies here at, well, central office that people can stop in and pick up at any time. Do you think like KILJ would put it on their website? Make sure we get it in Southeast Iowa Union and Hawkeye.
Chamber.
Put it in backpacks of students.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like the cost of it. Hey, we didn't get ours, but the feedback that we did get with the survey was the ones that didn't get it were upset that they didn't get it, even though they already knew about it.
But I think if we don't, I think the problem there was that there was a feeling of exclusion, that some people were getting it and some people weren't. In my opinion, if we just don't do it from the get-go and provide ample opportunities elsewhere, then that, I mean, yeah, we might hear it once or twice that, why aren't they doing a mailer? That's just my opinion.
I think we need to do the mailers, just to show that we're trying to get it out every possible way, and then nobody can feel excluded. It's a 3-week time, over 3 weeks time period to get it out there. I think that'd be ample.
We didn't get to the bottom of what happened last time. We can't guarantee that it won't happen again. But we never found where the drop was. Don and the group promised that they did their part.
But if we're mailing them out ourselves, wouldn't that be a little more?
Yeah, we don't have a
reliable?
distributor doing it.
What's that?
In what you're doing, we don't necessarily have a distributor doing it. We're making postcards, cutting them, and throwing them in the mailbox, right? So they shouldn't get lost. We don't know. I would believe last time it was the distributor that the Donovan Group hired,
Yes.
that it didn't get out. I don't put it on the post office, I don't put it on the Donovan Group, it was the person in between. whether we have a different distributor or we do it directly, I think you see different results. Again, I don't like the cost of it. I think it's a waste of money, but at the same time, we heard about it, so people want something in their hand.
And everybody I heard it from, they knew about it, and they were telling people about it. So I'm not in favor of direct mailers. What is the cost? We would have to know the cost, and how does it get processed?
Yeah, if we're doing it ourselves, we have labor and the cost of somebody's time in the district, so I'll work with Jessica and we can put together a cost and we can discuss at committee meeting in a couple weeks. That's still before the 8th board meeting, so then we can have some costs and then make a final decision on the 8th.
One last question about the survey. How much time do you need by the time it closes until you have the info to give to us?
Typically, it takes about a week for us to run that report. And that's why I tentatively said earlier, I'd like to come back in October board meeting, just to share that report with you. And I'll share it with you ahead of the board meeting. It's good just to kind of walk through the basic data as well too. So September 8th to the 30th, you still want to stay with that? Or I know there was some conversation about maybe shortening that a little bit.
I mean, it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't hurt us to keep it open for 3 weeks. We have the timeline, and then that third week, if we have a lot of communication going out for homecoming anyway, just plug it in there, I guess.
Yeah, our board meeting in October is until the 13th, so that would still give you enough time. to
Plenty of
have-
time, yeah. All right, so I will plan to come back for the October 13th board meeting to give you a simple update on the survey, and that's also a good time to check in just overall as well then too. So perfect. All right, like I said, that's the easy one. The other dates to still work through. Again, these were the dates I shared with you last time, and these were ones that we put as a starting point. We can adjust these earlier or later, however you want to do that. So the first one is the the application period for candidates. We looked at October 15th to November 30th. At that time, we were basing it off of this window for the survey. If we want to start candidate applications earlier, we certainly can. You could go as early as September 8th if you want to. We could go October 1st. I don't think you're going to get a lot of applications in early September. People are just getting their school year started. They're preoccupied with that. But we can certainly move it up a couple weeks if you wanted to extend that. I don't see any negative of that. I would hesitate to end the application period before November 30th. We tend to see a lot of applications come in at the beginning and at the end, especially if we can surround it with a holiday or a break. And that's right after Thanksgiving, when candidates have some time off and a chance to update things if they want to, or finalize resume things and get things submitted to us as well too. So we can go earlier than that if you'd like. You would not have a natural holiday or a break from school for people to get things updated then. So October 15th to November 30th. I know there's been some conversation. I'd like to finish up for the winter holidays and break and Christmas and New Year's. So if we would stay with the November 30th, what I'd look at for the review of the candidates is that first week of December. I would come back and share all the candidate information with you, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then the following week, we'd look at doing screening interviews, the Zoom interviews we talked about. And then the following week, we'd look at formal interviews, in-person interviews here on site. So we could still, it's a very realistic time frame for us to pull things together if we wait till after Thanksgiving. First things first, application period. Any preferences on how you want to set that up?
If we started at the beginning of October.
I don't see any reason really to wait if the survey is done. Then we have that survey data, because once applicants apply, we typically send them a copy, so that would align pretty well for that too.
Okay, let's move
So
to
I'd say
first.
October 1st to November 30th, a 2-month application, which is
But
great.
that survey data won't be out until the 13th, right?
Correct. We won't make it public until the 13th, but that's okay. I can just delay sending it to candidates until October 14th then. All right, so the application period.
Hey, Shane,
So, yep.
Can I ask you, what do your what do your surveys typically look like? Are they is it a Likert scale? Is it A, B, C, D? What do they typically look like?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't, let me see if I have the draft of that pulled up here. Here we go. So essentially, the direction for them to is what it is, and the dates and timelines, we'll update all those information pieces there. And then essentially ask them to identify what's their connection with the district. They can't click more than one, so if they're a parent and a staff member, that's fine. And then the first couple of questions are essentially giving them a chance to provide some narrative, and this is what takes us a while to compile. We keep it pretty broad, just to get their thoughts, and not try to steer things a certain way. What are the district's current strengths or areas of points of pride? And then what are the district's opportunities for improvement? So there's your narrative piece. And then we essentially ask them to check the 3 most important professional skills and qualifications they want to see in their next superintendent. We give them a pretty lengthy list to pick from. And we ask them to check 3 most important personal traits they're looking for in their next superintendent. Again, pretty lengthy list. And then why do you believe these qualifications and traits are most important? And then what advice would you give the next superintendent? And then we will summarize all of that and bring that back to you in a report format. We can tweak this if you want. We found this to be a valuable format, but we can add anything else if you'd like to as well.
Looks good to me.
Try to keep it quick for people to fill out. The last thing people want is 20 question survey. We also want to make sure they get a chance to provide narrative and fill in a wicked score.
Are all of them required? Like if they don't want to add narrative, can they skip it?
They can.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, and that does happen. And some people write a small novel, others will just write a blurb, and some won't do anything.
We appreciate you reading through all of them.
Oops, did that wrong. So that takes us to at the application period. So the week of December 1st, look at my calendar here. December 1st is the Monday, so that'd be the Monday after Thanksgiving break. Sometime that week, I would like to come back and meet with you. It'd be at a closed session, and we'll go through every candidate, and I'll show you what you'll see in that meeting here in a few minutes. That takes a little while. I'll go through every candidate, we'll go through it. Actually, we'll do that in 2 parts. The first part of the meeting will be an open session, where it provides some general applicant information, number of applicants, some basic demographic information, and then we recommend going into closed session when we start talking about individuals and their applications and our recommendations to you. So that would be the next meeting then, is just me coming to you again, and walking through all of that, and that's obviously a critical meeting as we try to gather. Now this is a little tight time frame on our end, because if we close on November 30th and I meet with you on December 1st, so what you see, if it happens to be that Monday, might not be pretty. It might still be some raw responses, but we'll be updating things as we go. It just won't be a lot of turnaround time for us, which is fine because it's information we'll be updating as we go. Is there a better, I don't know when your December board meeting is, or if you want to
It would be
schedule another one?
the following week, but I mean, if we stick to somewhere close to this timeline, we would want to do it earlier to be able to have the applicants we choose have enough time to make sure we can get them on the schedule that following week to do the video. Those were the video ones,
Interviews.
right?
Yep. So
So,
is Monday's your
anybody have-
typical nights?
Right, the second Monday, Shannon, the second Monday of the month is the regular board meeting. Yeah, December 8th, so the week before, right, Angie, you're saying we'll just need to fit something in
That'd be an additional.
that
meeting,
first
sounds
week
like.
with, yeah.
Monday or Tuesday?
Or do we coincide it with policy and psych?
Well, but if you
Thursday?
wait till the end of that week, and then we have to try to contact and get the video screen scheduled for the following week,
When is your policy meeting?
Thursday nights. at
Thursday
5.
night, the 4th and 5th.
We've done it that quick, and that's the piece is, I will be the one to follow up with all the candidates. So you get one meeting extra that you have to do that evening or the next day. And I always let candidates know ahead of time that this can be a quick turnaround from application review to screen interviews, but so that would work from my end, it's just up to you.
We also have full committee schedules, and so, I mean,
That-
Thursday night already lasts sometimes 2 hours, so you wanna throw another 2 hours onto that?
Could it be a Tuesday, the second?
I'm good anytime that week.
It just gives Shannon one more day to prepare for it.
Yep, first or second,
I'd be okay with that.
you're fine.
Tuesday the 2nd.
What time would you like to start that at?
Aaron, what time can you,
5:30?
anybody else, are you good?
I might be voted off, so it doesn't matter.
And you could just keep it at 6 o'clock to maintain
Yeah, that's fine.
consistency, you know.
That's fine too.
So does that mean you're running?
Tuesday the 2nd at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
And then we'll do that at central office. We can do that.
Any place you would have just for a Zoom setup would work. It doesn't need to be big, but it can be here as well. So we'll talk more about what that looks like as we get closer to it. So that leads us to, I present all the candidates to you that night. The goal of that night then is for you to number it down to one of two options. We would recommend getting down to 4 to 8 candidates, hopefully, that we bring back for the Zoom interviews. Or you could just skip that step and go right to the formal interviews, and you do not need to decide that right now. That would be the goal of that evening is, sometimes they just have 2 or 3 candidates just rise to the top, and yep, we don't need to bring everybody else in. And other times it's nice to meet other candidates and get a better visual that way too. I will say most people like to do the Zoom interviews, even if it's a small number of people, because it kind of gives you a first taste of them before the formal interviews, but that's totally up to you. So we'll plan to do the screening interviews the week of the 8th, then you can always decide not to if you choose to. Again, so I know you have a board meeting Monday night. The screening interviews, we block out 30 minutes for each candidate, which seems quick, but if you do up to 8 of them, well, there's 4 hours right there. So if you have a board meeting on the 8th, I would probably recommend not having it on the 8th unless that becomes your board meeting. You may only do 5 people, but that's still 2.5 hours plus your discussion and decision-making time after that, so. And whatever you tell me that week, I can make work.
Do we have any concerts or anything that, is that what you're looking at?
I don't think my wife's got the concerts in here yet.
I would suggest potentially earlier part of the week, just because from screening interviews to formal interviews, that's where it's nice to have a little bit of time for candidates that do make the final round. If we go Thursday or Friday and they have to come back on that Monday for interviews, that's a really quick turnaround for candidates. And for you guys to get ready as well.
Tuesday, it's just the school band choir concert on that Tuesday at night. We could,
You don't have to go score.
Yep.
it's the SAG on the 10th.
I don't have that one in either.
Which one?
The SAG on the 10th.
Oh, which one?
December.
Yep, yes.
In elementary, Thursday night.
Oh, boy.
Honestly, that's a good question. Do you ever do Sunday evenings or afternoons as opposed to a weeknight?
I haven't, but we can.
You're talking about, that's the interviews.
The video screen,
That's
yeah, the video interview screen.
That'd be,
It'd be different for candidates as
Right.
well.
Candidates,
We don't know what
that's
their personal schedules are necessarily.
But then when you pick that week of the 8th, there's a conflict every night unless we reschedule Simon.
So Shannon, is this something where you would have that 4 to 8 candidates, just one after the other, scheduled for Zooms?
Yep. We keep them moving, and that's one that we'll talk about here, but I typically run those, and that allows us to keep things moving, allows you just to focus on the candidates. So we give them each 25 minutes, and we start at every half hour. We just keep rolling through them to give you a pretty good taste of them right away.
Is it recorded?
It is not typically recorded. The other option you could do is if you want to do that first week of December and double up. If we wanted to move it to December 2nd, when I present to you on maybe Monday, December 1st, and we come back on the 3rd or 4th to do screen interviews, if that works better for your schedules, that's another option. This is always the hardest part. The calendar game is just tight.
That would be my recommendation.
If we move SIAC to the 3rd and
Wouldn't notify anybody about it, yes.
did the video screens on the 10th, Wednesday the 10th.
I'd be in favor of that.
I agree.
So Wednesday the 10th. Is that one we could potentially book to start a little bit earlier? I'm just thinking if we happen to have a full house of 8 candidates, you start at 6, we're going till 10, and that's before you have any discussion and debrief, which is okay with me, but candidate interviewing at 9:30 at night is,
We could do 5 if you don't mind. I might stroll in a few minutes late.
you know, if we don't have a full house, if we get down to 5 or 6 semifinalists, then we can easily push it back to 6 if that works too. I'd rather block off earlier and then adjust if we need to.
Yeah.
So I think I heard Wednesday, December 10th at 5.
Okay.
And SIAC's on the 3rd now, correct?
Yes.
And then the final date for us to schedule is the big one, the fun one. This will be your only commitment obligation during the day. This is formal interviews we typically hold during the school day. And I am going to skip ahead a little bit to show you what this looks like for us, because we do things a little bit differently than you might typically see. What we typically recommend for formal interview days, and this is just a sample schedule, we can tweak this any way you want, is we typically bring all the candidates in on one day. That seems kind of crazy, but what it really does is it allows much easier scheduling for you. It allows much easier scheduling for your people that are on your interview teams. It allows for a much quicker turnaround time for candidates. We've had really good feedback from people on this format. Otherwise, it literally takes a whole week to do your interviews if you do one candidate a day. What we would recommend is having multiple teams. This sample shows 2 teams for interview team members. If you notice that it also says mixed interview teams. What we suggest to you is instead of having teachers or staff on one team, administrators on one team, parents and community on another, students on another, what we found is candidates can kind of steer their answers to tell the team members what they want to hear, and it may not match from students to parents to administrators or teachers, however you want to look at that piece. So we would recommend you mix those teams. They can be pretty good sized teams. We can do 3 teams if you want to. So typically we'd recommend some sort of a building/community tour. Show off your community, show off your schools, let the candidates see that. It's a nice soft way to start the interview time period. And then we dig into the different interview teams. If you notice, the school board in this model is always the last group to meet with candidates. So you'll have your own time with candidates as well. And then that evening, as soon as you are done, we would schedule a school board meeting for you to debrief with the goal to offer a job to one of the candidates that night. That seems fast. We do as much work ahead of time as possible. I won't say never, that's not probably true. We almost never have any issues getting to closure that night. If we need to extend it, we will.
So how many, you say the interview, to make mixed interview team's gonna be whatever, what's your average size that you would want?
Good question. So here's kind of a sample page we'll give you to share. We'd recommend about 15 is a good number for each team. So that we'd be looking at 30 people. If you want to do 3 teams, it's 45. Some districts choose to just do one mixed interview team, so really that's up to you. We would recommend you have some students involved, typically high schoolers, support staff, teaching staff or coaches, administrators, and then community members as well on those teams. And that's kind of your homework going forward, is if you're comfortable with this, to start thinking who would you want to have on those teams. You've got time. Sometimes this is really quick. You've got time to figure that part out. That's always a big piece, is who do you involve in that piece. So I bring that up to show whatever date we set, that's kind of what your obligation would be that day, starting a little bit earlier. We can go later if you want to. It just pushes everything later in the evening as well, however you want to, and that piece of it should work for us on that schedule piece. The other schedule option, we can finalize these later, but just kind of planting the seed for you, is if you don't want to stagger them, and this is a little more condensed time frame. So each candidate is here the exact same time, but their order is different. There's advantages to this because it's a little more condensed schedule. The disadvantage, I think, I like having school board interview be last. I think that's a good way for candidates to finish. So this, obviously, you can't interview all 3 candidates at the exact same time, so you have to stagger. So those are just ways that could look as well too.
What's the logic behind school board interviewing separately and not being mixed in with the other group?
A couple of things. One, it allows you to really dig into, there may be some very specific things you want to address with candidates about the district or about, I have no idea, so I'm just making this up, a personnel issue and how they would handle some situations. It allows you to kind of get into a little more nitty gritty on some things that a typical community member or student may not have any interest in. School finance and the details on that piece of it too. So it just allows us to give you suggested questions that are a little more targeted from a board perspective, and really allows you to have follow-up questions without having to want to lead somebody else that's on the interview team like, oh, why are they asking that follow-up question? Are they trying to get at teacher or principal or whatever that way? So it just allows you a little more confidentiality in your conversation. So, and just so you know too, the way we do this is mixed interview team A, I will be with one team all day. So I will be sitting in there. I won't be participating in the interview. I will welcome, we'll get the introduction started. We'll go through the ground rules with all the people in the interview, and I just stay there all the rest of the time for 2 purposes. 1, to keep them on time, and 2, to make sure they're staying within their legal bounds for interviews. And then John Spear, who was with me the other night, can't be here tonight, he will be with team B or team A, whichever order we go. He'll be doing the same thing. So you'll have both of us here all day, just joining in those interview teams for those purposes. But then the school board, essentially you'll be on your own. That'll be a closed session, interview time for you to have there as well.
Who's typically on the building community tour?
Typically, we see one of 2 titles, I would say. It's either the outgoing superintendent, because it gives the candidates a chance to talk superintendent lingo life as well. And superintendent knows the schools and community very well, obviously, or it's somebody that's kind of a local legend, mayor type of a person to promote things that way too. So it can be either, or it can be somebody different if you want to too, but I'd say it's probably 85–90% of the time the outgoing superintendent. It's typically a good way to get them involved without not being the decision-making part. A chance to promote the district and help that transition. And then it's probably 10% a mayor or local legend and 5% somebody different.
So in both of your interview sample schedules there, when or where is there time for the different groups to meet to say we like candidate A?
Yep. I don't know if I have a picture of that here. I don't. I'll share that with you later. I don't have that. So what there will be, I'll go back to that schedule. Sorry, I'm flipping around here a lot. So if I'm with Team A all day, so I will go through candidate 1, candidate 2, candidate 3 with them, and then after they are done, we will have them fill out. There's 2 different ways they'll give you direct feedback. The first one is they'll each individually fill out a form to ask about each of the candidates, and they will rank them and provide some narrative to you. And then I will summarize that. I'll combine that with John's group. We'll summarize that and say, here's what your community members said, here's what your students said, here's what your teacher said. We'll break it down by groups and also give you a summary overall. So you'll see that piece of feedback from each of the interview team members. And then the second way is we'll also ask them before we let them go on with the rest of their day, and we'll ask them just some overall thoughts of what they thought from the candidates as well, and kind of get a little bit of a group conversation at that point too. We do the individual part first, that way the group thought doesn't taint their individual thinking, and then we summarize the group piece to share with you. And then at this meeting, John and I will come back and share with you, here's what Team A said, here's their raw data, and same with Team B, and it gives you the information as well. The goal is always, we hope, that the team data matches your data and thoughts as well. It usually does, not always, but it's always the goal to have for that reason.
Have you ever, over here, on the survey, means you want interviews, have you ever put on there if they want to volunteer to be on the interview group?
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that up, because when you talk about determining who's on the committee, committees, interview teams, there's a couple different ways you can approach that. You can either, on the survey itself, we have added a line from time to time. At the bottom, it says, actually to be on the actual survey, to say, would you be interested in potentially serving on one of the interview teams? And they can click yes or no, and that gives you a whole list of names to reach out to. There are pros and cons to that. It seems like a nice idea because you get a chance to gather a lot of names. The con to that we've heard from districts is you typically get a lot more people say yes than you have spots available. So then you're kind of back to what you guys were saying about the mail-ins earlier. All of a sudden you have people that aren't being invited that said, I wanted to be invited, part of that. So you're welcome to do that. Just have that thought in your mind that most likely you're gonna have more people say they're interested than you're gonna have spots available, unless you would have 100 people on your interview teams, which becomes problematic in its own way, shape, or form too. So the other way the districts have determined those individuals is just board connections, and then potentially reaching out to either building administrators for suggestions or PTO, PTA members for suggestions, and just put together a little list that way. So you certainly can, if you want us to do that, we'll add that to the survey and gather those names for you too. All these things to think about. So back to where we were, so knowing a rough idea what that formal interview will look like. The week of December 15th, I don't know when your last day before winter or Christmas break is. I'm assuming it's not until at least the 19th, so that should give us that week to do interviews. I don't know if you have
The
a
22nd is our last.
preferred day, I'm sorry.
Monday the 22nd is our last calendar day in
Perfect.
2025.
So that gives us that full week then to conduct interviews if need be. Is there a day you would prefer to shoot for? You don't need to set the exact times yet, but just the day in general.
Aaron, which day works best for you to take a part of a day off?
This far out, I don't think it matters too much, so I'll make whatever work.
How about you, Mark? Do you have a day that works better than?
I can make any day work.
Do you have any, well, you have some other board things, other groups that you're a part of, right? Josh?
That week is a little better.
Okay. Melinda, do you have any other?
Time's good, evenings are busy, festival of lights, but daytime.
It'll be daytime, so yes.
But even an evening meeting, that's fine.
I heard about that today, that union light. So that'd actually be kind of a cool opportunity. That's a week of candidates being in the district, see potentially too. So nice opportunity to promote. The other piece to remember is if you don't want to start at 3, but want to go to 4, we can either start later, or we can also do an hour and 15-minute interview chunks, hour and a half, and then obviously we do that. That pushes things back a little bit if that makes it easier for schedules too.
I do like your idea of why you have mixed interview teams. Back in my days in Carlisle, we did not do it that way. We had each one of those stakeholder groups separate. And then, the board, we all went out out to eat with our spouses and had the candidate bring their spouse. And we all went out to eat to get to know them better, then came back and did our school board interview. So it was a long process doing that with each candidate.
This is a long process itself, but that becomes even
Yeah.
very drawn out. And my experience is within the first half hour to 45 minutes with each candidate, you're gonna have a pretty good vibe of where you're at with them. Anything beyond that becomes confirming what you already knew or just challenging sometimes.
If I'm still in this seat, I guess Wednesday. I was
You prefer Wednesday the 17th, is that correct?
Well, that was just me.
Yep, that's what's triggered that, right?
Right now, right now on the 17th. We have TLC on the 17th. Teacher leader.
I have the,
Huh?
December 17th,
Oh, I'm sorry, it's
I'm gonna be a.
missing the one, that's February 17th. Yeah, the only thing on the district schedule is, MPEA, the administrative meeting with MPEA.
When I look at admin schedules, because I would imagine these admin, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be the best for those, but either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's something on Monday and Friday for admin.
So, which I know it's a long way down the road to get to this point. We'll be doing that during school hours. Do we have 3 separate rooms to do this?
It's a great question. Yeah, we'll definitely need 3 separate rooms. I would recommend, they can be basic classrooms, they can be a library, we can be very flexible as long as there's some level of confidentiality, walls, essentially. I would recommend they be in the same facility. It doesn't matter to me if it's high school, middle school, even elementary. It's just, if they're not in the same facility, it makes logistics between interview teams hard.
We have 3 separate buildings at Central Campus.
Good point.
One doesn't have any water
we can figure it
or
out.
heat, but
Put them in, Pioneer Hall.
yeah, we'll blow right through them.
Yeah.
Just middle of December.
We'll see
Yeah.
how hardy they are.
It won't last long.
I'm gonna take a guess that MPEA, somebody from MPEA leadership will wanna, in their meetings on Wednesday, can we pick Tuesday or Thursday? Tuesday?
Tuesday, the 16th, fine with me.
Okay with me.
Tuesday the 16th then?
Yes.
Because you're going into I didn't look at the activity schedule.
Tuesdays.
Okay, nothing.
All right,
If
thank
all the
you.
events are on-bound. Yes, okay.
I do like that it's earlier in the week too. I'm sure we're not gonna have any snow or ice this winter, but just in case we do, it's nice to have a little bit of cushion later in the week if we need to move something back, so, thank you. That's, like I said, that most painful part is just getting those dates figured out, but I have learned if we don't do that now, it only gets harder the closer we get to those dates, so keep those on there, that'd be fantastic, so. The survey we talked about, so what I will do is I will get the survey updated. Just a quick thing on communications about too, going forward, I typically email the board president and usually one person in the district office, and it's usually the CFO business manager. One, just to streamline communication and make sure also as an employee that knows and a board member that knows. And then for you guys to share it with everybody else beyond that would be fantastic, or whoever needs to have that information. I would definitely encourage you to share with board members. The reason I don't send it to all board members is I want to make sure there's not any accidental replies that lead to an open meetings violation. So I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but we'll typically send it your way, and then you can forward it to the whole group as well too. So, so we'll update this, we'll get everything tweaked, get the dates added, we'll get the links all live and everything else, and I'll send you guys away to proof, and then if we edit it again, we will, and then you can start to get ready to send that out starting on September 8th. We've got a little time there, so we're in good shape. So the report, like I mentioned, this is similar to what the report will look like. You'll get about a 5 or 6 page report. It'll give you a summary of the comments. It'll be a total of the narrative of the numerical values as well then too. And then kind of the smaller pieces. So I will give you a copy of the report, and then we'll come to that in October, what we say, 13th board meeting, and walk through that with you as well too. So the next thing that starts to happen is recruiting. We'll go to talk about job description here in just a second, and then with that plus the survey information, the dates, really gives us a chance to be more active. Right now we have it on our website, like I said, but it's mostly just awareness. There's not any meat to it yet. We'll start to add that as soon as possible. We'll start to add that to the national sites and everything else too. So that'll start to happen and be more live here in the next couple weeks. So the job posting. What I have together here is a rough draft of a job posting. We typically try to use the information at the top, just links to all of your information, your website. We'll get the application link live once we get that finalized. We put the dates. On the left-hand side, we typically just do some basic highlights of the district. And then the right-hand side are just some typical qualifications or things you're looking for in a candidate. It's a basic information. Took a shot at the information pieces here. We can adjust this, or if other things you want to highlight, please let me know. It's probably really hard to read for you there too, isn't it? Essentially, just talking about the location in Southeast Iowa, the district buildings. I was not very clear on the grade levels. I will add the grade levels for Van Allen, Lincoln, and Harlan as well, and keep Salem as it is. We did pull this straight from your website about some of the range of things that you offer in the district. And this is simple. You can get somebody effective for next school year.
The Christian Morehouse does not exist anymore, so we're in the middle of a new website launch, so some things aren't updated in anticipation of the new website launch, but that does not exist anymore.
Okay, I will take that off. That's good to know. And that, honestly, if you want to have a blurb you want to just send me that's either going to be on your new website or something else you want to promote, I can copy and paste that in there as well. I'll take that part off. And then the required qualifications, preferred qualifications, these are just placeholders. You can tell me if you want that as a priority, you don't. It's just a starting point. So essentially required qualifications to have to hold Iowa superintendent's license or plans to obtain licensure before they start the job essentially. And holds an evaluator approval certification. Those are the two basic things they need to have legally for that. If you want to add some other things there, we can. Preferred qualifications, again, I just took a stab. This is typical things that a lot of schools prioritize. But you can change how you want to. Strong Iowa school finance background, proven school improvement experience, district leadership experience, willingness to reside and be visible in the district. Are just some things that we use as a starting point. This one always comes up, the willingness to reside and be visible in the district. You cannot make that a requirement if they live here. You can certainly make it a preferred qualification. And when it comes time to offering a salary, you can also incentivize them to live in the district by moving expense, but you only pay them that expense if they reside in your district. So you can incentivize it somewhat, but you cannot require it. You can't ask about that in interviews as well. We'll talk about that as we get closer. You can certainly make it known that that's important to you if that's something you want. And then the timeline, obviously, I'll update that after a conversation we just had. We'll talk salary in a second. But anything else on required qualifications, you want to make sure we add in there. Customize it for your own sake.
Yeah, with preferred qualifications would be facilities master planning.
Under preferred, you said, correct?
Yeah,
Having experience with it.
however you can word it. Yeah, I mean, previous experience of facilities, school facilities, background.
Experience with facility master planning is we're seeing that more and more right now, so that makes sense to add. You notice I put district leadership experience, I did not say superintendent experience, only because I didn't want to limit your candidate pool. But if you want to make that a requirement, obviously you can make that more narrow as well. My thinking on these is I always want to make sure to capture as many candidates as we can, and then you can always filter down the farther we get.
I would agree. I think it's fine as is. We will be able to filter it down if needed.
I apologize, I was not here the last meeting. You kind of do a pre-filter for us, I assume, correct?
Of the candidates?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll see all of them, but they'll put them into three groupings, ones that well fit our desired things, ones that are in the middle, and then ones that maybe don't meet as many. So the summary that we'll get on the first, the second, we'll break those. We'll be able to see them as they apply, but GLS will do that.
Correct. So the weekly email example, essentially every Monday, once we get the candidate and the posting live, we'll start to send you, it'll typically come from Amanda Bonjour, and then it'll simply, here's the number of new applicants that have submitted their application and also the ones that are in progress. And then it'll have a link to a folder that you can then go in to see their letter of application, their resume. So just be a snippet of each candidate, but at least that keeps you informed as we're going. And then that night of December 2nd, we said, we will come back to you with our initial thoughts on each candidate. And this is the form that you'll see. It'll just be updated for each candidate that applies. Kind of their key highlights. Try to summarize that best we can. And then we will prioritize them in what we think are the top tiers. Green tiers, what we see are the most qualified, yellow, good candidates where there may be some questions or maybe not quite the match we don't think for what you're looking for. And then red are candidates that we do not see as qualified candidates for you. And again, you can change that any way you want. You might have your own thoughts. You might know the candidates differently than we do. And we can go from there. But yeah, before we come on the second, we'll have done extensive research on each candidate as well for that time period. So that we good with the required and preferred qualifications for the posting at least? And then
I think so.
the narrative piece we'll finalize back and forth, we got a little time there yet, which leads us to salary. We would recommend that you be upfront with the salary range. You don't have to finalize it today. It just avoids that whole guessing game or have a candidate apply and then they find out 10 weeks from now that that's not in their range. It's just better for everybody's use of time and transparency to do that. What we would recommend, and this is just our recommendation, we typically suggest about a $20,000 range. What we've done, we've looked at the 10 schools that are bigger than you in the state of Iowa, the 10 schools are smaller than you, the closest range, and just looked at what we thought was reasonable based on that range of your comparable peers across Iowa. So based on that information, and this is salary, not all the whole package of insurance, everything else, because everybody's contract's a little different there. So what we'd recommend for a salary range for starting point is $185,000 to $205,000. These are last year's numbers here that you'll see. So, this year's numbers and then the following years as well. So we still feel like that's a healthy range to attract good candidates, but also be realistic for where you are size-wise. Some boards will want to go a bigger range. They'll want to go $30,000 range and go 180 to 210 or 175 to 205, whatever you want. It's just a starting point for that conversation. And as we get closer to the hiring process, we'll start to work with candidates on what's their asking point, and then obviously what your comfort zone is for the actual offer is up to you later on. Any initial thoughts on that suggested range?
Josh has got it. Come on the seats.
With salaries, have you seen smaller schools having to pay more than larger schools to attract talent? Or because the thought used to be smaller community, you can get cheaper wages. our field anymore, it's gonna change, that we're smaller, we have to pay more to attract those people to come here, rather than the Iowa cities and Des Moines.
I wouldn't say you have to pay more than larger schools necessarily, but I do agree that we can't be as discrepant as small schools used to be with larger schools for that piece of it to be competitive. I don't know if this is more than what you're thinking or less than what you're thinking for a range, or hadn't gone that far yet either.
My initial, I think it's a little bit on the lower end of where I thought, but not for Jessica.
Well, I was just thinking, Fairfield, they have a brand new superintendent, and so does, well, Fairfield and Fort Madison.
Yeah, Fort Madison does as well.
And that's a pretty wide swing between the two of
But
them.
also an enrollment as well.
Correct. And for Madison, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure their new soup is several $1,000s less than this for next year as well, so that would adjust differently. Again, you can go higher. I will say the higher you put for your range, the more of an attractive net you make for your candidates as well.
Do you feel like that range is adequate for attracting seasoned people as well with experience?
That's a great question. For candidates that don't have superintendent experience, it is certainly an attractive range. Those that are experienced, it might be on a little bit low end for that piece. And that's where you could bump this up another 10,000, so you're not obligated to anything, but it just gives you that higher end range to try to capture.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Not to commit to anything, but I want to make sure that we hopefully get a few candidates who are not brand new. And I want to make sure the salary range attracts all kinds of talent.
Yeah, we have a lot of obstacles ahead of us. We've been talking about declining enrollment and the need for some changes, and change management is hard. So I would agree that it's a valid question, and it's something we have to keep in mind.
So I'm glad to hear, Shannon, right here, that we have a range to work with that can be decided later on. We're not trying to peg that tonight. Can we increase it to 215 for the high? Would 215 help attract the seasoned administrators?
Yes, our thinking was we thought it was critical you had your higher range at least at 200,000. So 215 would definitely get people's attention as well. Again, if you notice the piece at the very bottom, I'll switch pages on you. On this piece, the job posting, the final salary will be determined based on relevant experience. So that does give you that flexibility. The first year superintendent really isn't going to have that negotiation leg to bump up to the higher amount unless you want to offer it to them as well too. I think 185 to 215, that's a good size range because it does give you opportunities to come a little bit lower potentially if you need to for a candidate, but it also gives you, you're not tying your hands or losing a candidate or two at the top end either.
John, do you have any thoughts on it?
I do. I think that range is appropriate. I can think about, have been in this for a long time, and colleagues who haven't been in it as long, that's going to attract quality people.
I don't disagree raising it, always helps attract more people. What we've heard, or what I've heard in other meetings too, going back to what I said earlier, in the state, the salaries for the newest employees, I'm gonna just go to the, was that the assessor's office? He was saying that the newest assessors in the state are making more than the ones that have been there the longest. I don't know if we need to look at that. That's why I was looking at this, the district experience in the years, like with Zero. And like Ballard there, you're at 190 with 0 years of zero experience. Am I looking at that right?
Yes, but I don't think the state of Iowa has that accurate. Because what that is reflecting is, I know the person that got that job, this individual has significant superintendent experience, but none of them at Ballard. So I think the way the state is showing this is 0 years of district experience and then total experience, 0 years of district superintendent experience and 0 years experience in that district. So I think how this is pulled straight from the DE's website. But I know the individual that got that job has 10 to 15 years of superintendent experience as well. So I don't know why they categorize it that way. 185 to 215, is that? I haven't heard anybody say otherwise, I don't think.
I'd be in favor of trying to raise the range to 215. Because I think we need to make sure we attract good people. Now, that isn't saying that we have to go with the 215, but we have that range to go with.
Jessica, you look terrified right now.
I'm terrified.
Oh, gosh. I think that I understand what you're trying to accomplish, with attracting people. I think that you're gonna get the people who are interested in change, are interested in climbing the ladder, are interested in this particular area of Iowa. I don't know that, personally, I don't know that more money is going to get you a better pool. That's just my opinion. Obviously, yes, staying within, I like the 185 to 205, and you have to remember you have full, family benefit package on top of that. Not that anybody else probably doesn't, but, when you put the whole package together, it's a lot.
Right, I want to be financially responsible for to the taxpayers too, and there's still an ultimate decision at the end. So maybe just sticking with that 205 to start with, and knowing we're not dead set on that if it is the absolute right candidate to offer.
But then don't you offer or start it at go up to 215 to get that candidate? Because what if the candidate looks at it and says, well, maybe if it was 215, I'd do it, but not 205.
Hopefully, there's more reasons they're coming here than just that $10,000 salary. I don't know.
That's the way I mean, I'm not sure how, as Shannon said, I'm not sure how accurate these are. Because my total experience at the time when we were 1,733 was 19, was 18 years. So anyway, what I think the additional 10 is going to do, whether you want to do it or not, the additional 10 is going to attract that person who's currently working for 185 to 190, and you're going to get that person who has experience as a superintendent. But that's just my opinion.
When do you throw in the benefit package? When do they know what they get for a benefit package here? How soon?
Sometimes they'll ask if they're debating to apply or not. So typically, if it's a more seasoned superintendent, they will ask that early in the process, so we'll be transparent. Jessica supplied me the basic information they have on that, so that's helpful. And then if they don't ask, we share that with them before they get to the final stage or when they become finalists, to be as transparent as possible with everything. The last thing we want is a surprise on interview day, so we try to provide as much specific information for them at that point. We can put all the other stuff on there, it just leads to clutter sometimes, or the salary is what that catches their attention first, and then the more details can be negotiated or added on afterwards. So now I think I'm hearing 205, keep it as is.
I say 215.
I say 215.
I say 215.
I'm hearing 215. The good thing is, like you said earlier, you're not committing to anything except the range at this stage.
And back to qualifications, I know we're saying 100% preferred, we're not saying superintendent experience preferred, but why not? If we want them to be experienced in master planning and right sizing the district, it's not a qualification, it's just preferred, it's not required.
The only reason I didn't put it on there is I,
Limit our candidates.
is I didn't want to eliminate somebody that could be a really good administrator that is ready for that next step, but sees that, it's like, well, if that's what they're looking for, I'm not going to bother applying. So that's the only reason I didn't put that on there. You certainly can.
I mean, it's not the same position, but obviously when we went through elementary principal interviews, right? We had both, and it was good to see the difference in the two. And ultimately, you know, we went two different ways on two different positions, but it does give you a better perspective, I mean, than somebody maybe that is discouraged because it says preferred.
And the other reason I would suggest you not is you might attract a candidate from a larger district that is currently an associate or deputy superintendent in a larger district that their heavy part of their job was facilities or something that would be a potentially good fit for you, that they would see that and say, oh, not a superintendent. So I just don't want to have you lose any candidates before you get a chance to meet them. You get a chance to meet you. All right, we're getting there. So again, just a reminder, once we get the posting up, it won't be this next Monday, but probably the Monday after Labor Day weekend, hopefully. We'll start to then give you updates every week. As far as I'll send you a survey updates as well too, as far as number of participants. Get some information for you that way as well too. And just keep you up to date very informally. And then the other times that you will be sharing information that we would recommend you to share information with your public is after today, once we get the job description up and the survey out, essentially you're sharing information with them about the process at that time. So after tonight, after the work session tonight, that's a good time to get some information out to the community. And then after, we would also suggest after the screening interviews are completed on December 8th, 10th, whatever we decided, you would then do more of a formal announcement, official announcement if you're the finalists. And obviously there'll be a press release and a video that we put together when it's actual hiring time as well too. We talked about confidentiality a little bit already. I just want to reiterate, we want to be as open and communication wise with people as possible. We also want to honor applicants' confidentiality. So as you start to see those applicants come in, those weekly emails, please don't share something and say, with your neighbor or whoever, really good candidate today from wherever. Just don't want to put yourself in that position of sharing information that you can't. So you can give general information about that we've gotten a good number of candidates so far. We're pleased with them, or hoping to see more the next month. You can talk in generalities, but the specific pieces, just be careful of. I don't want that to come back at you. I'd rather remind you that early than after the fact. There's no going back afterwards. The other pieces of things for email, or communication. So again, weekly I'll send up the information and a link to you. Once the application deadline has finalized, before we meet on December 2nd, we'll send you a list of some narratives of each. We'll ask each candidate to explain why they think they're a good fit for Mount Pleasant. We'll share that with you. And then their disclosures or potentially anything that would be in their history that you would need to know as well too. So we'll share that with you as well. And then the meeting we talked about earlier, that I'll share all of the references, summaries, and all the social media reports with you at that time too.
So are you providing some kind of a standard release that you do after this meeting?
I don't usually after this meeting because the survey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it said after. Go back right there. After a work session.
Yeah,
Is
so
that a
that's-
different work session?
This is this work session. Typically, the information you're sharing with the community then is the information that's in the survey. It will have the basic timeline, and so we're considering that transparent communication with your public about the process where it stands right now. It's so early in the process, there's not much to share yet, but it will. The survey link will have a timeline and then ask them to complete the survey. So it's kind of serving two purposes. Yes, then after the screening, candidates will put together a press release for you to either share or modify it however you want to. candidate summaries we talked about earlier, the candidate tiers as well. And then this is just a reminder for you from what we talked about last time. Once we identify those individuals to be in the semifinalist round, essentially it's 30 minutes together, 25 minutes with the candidate, then a 5-minute transition. We usually do about 8 questions, and once we get the survey results back, we'll start putting together some drafts of interview questions that I'll share with you, get your feedback on, to see if they look sufficient to you, and then we'll begin to put those together for those interviews. Again, the goal that night is whether we interview 4 or 5 or 8 candidates, is to get down to 2 or 3 for the finalists. Is always the goal. We would recommend 3, even if you have 2 that are kind of rising above the top. We think it's good to have 3 to have a little bit broader base of candidates to bring in, and also that does give you a little protection if one candidate pulls out for whatever reason, you're not left standing there too. So we think 3 is a good number. Mixed interview teams we already talked about. Setting those up. Again, this is not something you have to start doing yet, but I guess I do need to know from you, do you want me to put on the survey link if they're interested in potentially serving on the interview teams, to notify that on the survey, then we can share that with you? Or do you want to leave that as is, then you guys can be more proactive on that?
Let us have a discussion committee meeting. We'll add it to the other discussion about the direct mailer that we can decide before that.
Perfect. We've got some time.
In the next week, so.
Yep, perfect. Interview schedules, we'll talk more about as we get closer. Again, this is on the interview schedules. Typically a district and community tour is good to do as well too. So those are just some potential suggestions I'll share with you as you get closer about things to highlight, things to make sure to share with candidates as well. The other thing we offer at that time, once we identify the finalists, we'll invite them to bring their spouse or significant other if they want to. I'd say it's about 50-50, people that do or don't. And then at that time, they either join in on the tour, or they might ask to meet with a realtor, or based on what the profession is, potentially see the hospital or child care as well too. So we'll work with you on more of a customized tour for the spouse if they come along as well. I think that's a nice extra touch to have too. One of the last things I need information from you tonight is I did get a copy of the current contracts. That's very helpful. Before I start to use that as a driving force for benefits and everything else that way, vacation, those type of things. You don't have to tell me right now, if you want to think about this, is there anything in the language you want to change before offering it to the next candidate? So we've got plenty of time there yet, but if there are things you were thinking of adjusting, now is a good time to do it. If it's been reviewed recently and you're good to go, then that's easy too. So yours looks pretty up to date compared to some that I see.
I should send it to you all. You got it right.
Let me know on that one. And then another item to think about, John and I talked about this earlier, is what role does the current superintendent have in the process? I would encourage a couple of different possibilities. One, if candidates reach out to us and say they'd like to talk to the superintendent that's there for whatever questions they may have, I always think it's a good thing to be able to have them connect with the current superintendent just to clarify things they may have about the district or school finances, whatever it may be, but I always want to make sure you guys are comfortable with us, encourage them to reach out as well, see if you have nods on that as well. And then the other piece is, I think involving John either the tours or some other way that piece of the process is good. If the superintendent's not part, it leaves the candidate wondering why.
Correct.
And sometimes there may not even be a reason, but if there's not, I think it's good to do that as well too. So,
Absolutely.
so we can discuss that as we get closer to it too. So lots of things to think about, but we have time, so that's really good. Again, next steps, things that I'll be doing are the top half of this. I'll update the survey, I'll update the job posting, we'll get the application materials ready to go, the link for that. I'll send those to you just to get some feedback and a second set of eyes looking at them. The formal interview schedule, we'll start to tweak that a little bit for you of some possibilities. And then we'll start targeting recruits of candidates a little more aggressively now that we have some specifics to work with. The one thing we'd ask you to do right now, a couple things from follow-up we talked about earlier, really share and promote the survey. That pizza at your local pizza place today, a couple individuals in there have thoughts. And I just told them, well, the survey's coming out relatively soon, so please fill out the survey. So any way you can get that to people, the more we have people, the better. And then just start thinking about those interview teams, how you want to do that. The rest of it is down the road a little ways. Let me check my list, make sure I didn't miss anything else, because I don't want to follow up on you later. Oh, if there's any candidates that you want me to reach out to that you either know or have heard good things about, please let me know. I would encourage you not to do it yourself. It puts you in a tricky spot. So if there are candidates you've heard good things about, be glad to reach out to them on your behalf. So you've got my email. I'll send you an email this week too with my cell phone information. Feel free to text me or email me that, and I'd be glad to recruit candidates for you as well too. So we're not afraid to poach people. That's what we do. Now, I will be honest with you though, if it's a candidate we have hired in another district, I cannot reach out to them. I'll be honest with you on that if it comes to that piece of it too. Otherwise, I'm glad to reach out to them. I think I've covered everything. Well, the other contract piece I do want to talk about a little bit now, and we can come back to later, as well as the conversation we had a little bit about somebody living in the district. If that's important to you, I would encourage you to do some sort of a relocation expense, but I would phrase it if they live in the district boundaries. So if you're thinking of, is that something you want to do? Is that important to you? Is that not something you want to prioritize? That tends to become a good recruiting tool. If we can add that to it, it's another expense. So Jessica's going to throw pencils at me. But it's a one-time expense. So just be keeping that one in mind too. Because it's a nice way you can encourage somebody to recruit them, but also to show it is important that they live here.
If we offer, how much would you recommend?
You know, typically districts do between $5,000 and $10,000, and they have to. It has to be an expense for them, so that it's not just a check written out to them. So they have to show expenses for moving to whatever it may be in that moving expense to do that. So. All right, I've covered a lot. I said 60 to 90 minutes. I'm about 85 minutes right now, so I'm really pushing it. So, are there things you wanted me to cover that I didn't, or things I did not answer you want to make sure you get answered tonight?
Anybody have any other questions? Jessica, anything? John?
I don't think so.
Wow.
We're good to go?
If you think of it, you know how to get a hold of me. Again, look forward to working with you, and it's going to be a fun process. This was the hard, kind of messy part. It gets more enjoyable as we go through. So thank you for your patience today. Have a great rest of your first week of school. And you guys have a short week, right? Because
Right.
Of course.
just get started and then have some fun.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Well, don't offer to buy our house, my company made that mistake once. Stuck with the house.
I think pretty much gone are the days. When I started in this business, there were still districts that had a house, you know, for this. I think those days are gone. Not recommended.
Not.
All right. Mr. Lamb, you're up.
Scott, since we're streaming, I think I'll have you switch places with Shannon and use the microphone as well.
I got 60 to 90 minutes, so.
Did you bring treats?
You say 6 to 9?
6 to 9, yes, sir.
How long did your mandatory coaches meeting last?
1 hour, as promised. 1 hour. Okay, so, I'm not sure what you're expecting, but, just in talking with Mr. Henderson last week, maybe it was appropriate to have some discussion. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mrs. Lambert.
Flip it on box.
Okay, in talking with Mr. Hendrickson last week, we thought it was important to maybe have some clarity or discussion around this. So I just wanted to share with you a form that I have that you may or may not be aware of. If we have an incoming student that has come from another school district, so they were not enrolled in our district last year, but if that student is planning to participate in varsity sports, so starting this fall, any kid that is new to our district planning to participate in varsity sports, I go through this checklist for each of those students. And basically, it is just, general information, where did the student come from, and then what is their situation in our school district now. And so, as you see here in section 2, the first thing I'm looking for is a general transfer. Just basically checking to see if this family lives in our school district now. That's it.
Can you get the plus, make that a bit bigger up there?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
General transfer, so a family moves into our school district. Oftentimes, if there's any discussion, any reason not to think it's just a kid that moved into our district, I will have to go out and verify that address, make sure that they did in fact live here or move here. We follow up with the previous school as to why they may have left there. I fill out forms for kids going out of state to other districts, just stating what their eligibility was when they left here. And so that's what I'm checking on when we have kids come into our district. Were they in good standings? Whatever the case may be. So that would just be a general transfer, verifying where these kids live, and then, there's some other things involved in that, what part of their family is living here, or is it a kid that lives in an apartment, or is it a whole family that lives here? If it's a separated family, if the family is still married, but one lives here and one lives there, is this their first opportunity to have moved into our district? All things I'm trying to figure out in this form. As you go down this form, speaks to open enrollment transfers. And so I think this is the one where you guys kind of come in more often than we'd like. So first thing I'm looking for when these students come in, was there a founded case of bullying or harassment in their previous school? If so, then the kid is automatically eligible in our school district. If their board or superintendent and our board or superintendent have signed off on whatever the reason is, a good cause reason for that student leaving that district and coming to ours, then I would mark B. Or the student's residence has changed prior to them filing for open enrollment. We've had a case like that. A kid was moving to the Harmony School District at the time, or Van Buren may have been, Van Buren School District, but dad was a state patrolman and was going to be up in our area all the time, and just wanted their student to come to Mount Pleasant because that's where he was going to be working all the time. So Van Buren did sign off on that, even though it didn't fall within any of the good cause reasons. They were never a student of Van Buren's. They were just buying a house in Hillsboro, and so since it was their school district, they were fine. Yeah, that kid can go to Mount Pleasant, no problem. So that's where I would have marked C. As you go down here, this is kind of the process that I have to go through of verifying each of those things. You can see, as I spoke to earlier, that verified address, somebody moved in, I may have to do a drive-by at that house, making sure that they do actually have cars parked there at night and that they are staying in that house. It's not just a rental that they paid for and say, yep, that's where we live. No, they're actually lights on at night, cars parked there, same cars that come into the parking lot the next morning, those types of things. So keep this in mind. I know you know all of this, but this is where a lot of people get hung up on things. This is for varsity level eligibility only. So when kids come in, even if nobody has signed off on anything, there is no good cause, they just wanted to go somewhere else for whatever reason, that kid still gets to do everything that we have. Go to every class that we have, be involved in every activity we have. The only thing that they can't do is participate on the varsity team. So they can still do JV, they can still be part of our marching band, our choir, FFA, everything. The only thing they can't do is participate for 90 days on our varsity team. Things that would be considered for eligibility. So these things that are waived, basically. So just going down through all of these, again, that open enrollment stuff, I think you've all seen the good cause reasons for open enrollment. So again, if that gets signed off on, then I'm going down to that good cause reason of marking. This is the reason that this student is eligible in our district. And then at the end, I either mark eligible because of one of these reasons, or I'm marking ineligible, and then signing that, dating it, and then also getting the parent or legal guardian signature at the end. I do this form so that when the state starts asking, hey, this kid came in from New London, how are they participating on your team? I just send this form to them. And then they, from there, will ask me any questions of anything that somebody has called and said, you know, that kid doesn't even live there. I see him parked at their house every night in New London. And then I can tell them, well, I've been by that address 7 times, and here are my times that I've been there, and that same car was there at 9:30 at night on Tuesday. I saw it there at 7:15 when I went to work, and that same car pulled into our parking lot at 8:15 the next morning. So I don't know. Somebody must be living there. I don't know if that's where the whole family lives or not. And I've had to go and figure out if it's a house that was bought or if it's a house that was rented, get verification from a realtor that the house has been purchased, try to reach out to a landlord and just get some verification from a landlord saying that they are there. So that's kind of how the process works on the back end of what you guys do. So from there, you know, I guess the reasoning behind this is so that kids don't have the opportunity to bounce from school to school to school based on what they do. And so there's always been a 90-day ineligibility period for varsity sports only. And so they don't even count the summer. So it's 90 school days that they're ineligible. So basically 1 semester. So you could either likely participate in a fall sport if you left at semester the year before, or you could participate in a spring or summer sport if you left at the beginning of the year. So I don't know what kind of questions you have for me, but.
Does it apply to incoming freshmen?
So no, and yes. So incoming freshmen, no, it does not apply to them unless they were an 8th grader who played baseball or softball at the varsity level the year prior. So an 8th grader is eligible. You have 5 years of playing baseball or softball. So those kids, I do have to check on, did they play baseball or softball? If they did, then they would be subject to that 90-day transfer open enrollment policy as well.
Can you serve your 90-day ineligibility period for a sport you did not previously play? So let's say somebody wants to play basketball, that's their sport. Can they go out for volleyball and serve their 90-day ineligibility?
Doesn't matter. That used to be called a bona fide athlete. That has been taken away. 90 days is 90 days. So regardless of what sport you play, whether you would have had to have sat or not. So, you know, kid transferring for softball, baseball, any spring sport, and whatever the reason is, if those were the only sports that they did, they're not going to get they're not gonna have to sit anything, because they've never done a fall or winter sport, so it doesn't affect them. They just come in and play.
Scott, I was wondering, in the past few years, have you noticed a change in schools giving permission for kids transferring out to be eligible at a school, or is it people sticking to the 90-day?
Most people are sticking to. This has opened it up a little bit, you know, and maybe, that instance for that student that bought a house in Van Buren County, they wouldn't have been eligible for us at that time, but because of this, they were eligible. So those good cause things just make more sense, and so that's really why they're there. There didn't used to be that option or anything. It was a 90 days is 90 days. If you weren't in that school last year and you were somewhere else, then you will sit 90 days, because the student is ultimately only eligible in one district. You can't be eligible in two districts. It's pretty cut and dry. You're either eligible here or you're eligible there. So before you make any decision on moving, open enrolling, transferring, whatever, just understand that you will only be eligible in one place based on what you decide.
Is there any different rules between private schools and public schools?
Yeah, so open enrollment doesn't apply to private schools. It would only apply to public schools.
So why does it come to us? This form is there. Why have we had like 3 requests in the last 2 months?
I can answer that. Because the actual language, a superintendent can approve open enrollments. I believe it says the Board of Education in this language. So when people are applying for a waiver of the ineligibility period, it is supposed to go to the Board of Education. And so that's why we have the boards of education. This it says and/or superintendents. But I have brought it to the Board of Education each time. Now I will say, and I want you to talk, Scott, a little bit about the philosophy or the perspective that you have on this as an activities director. That one other case that Scott was mentioning, the Van Buren case, was a situation. One thing that you didn't mention was that family had just split. There was a divorce between the husband and wife. That student made a decision no longer. There was a lot of aspects there. That student made a decision to go and live with the father, which she hadn't been. And so we took all of that into perspective, or into as we were considering this. The student certainly hadn't participated in Mount Pleasant, and hadn't participated in Van Buren schools either. And so that's the decision that we made. It was it just made sense for that particular student.
I think your question is, though, on this form, it was deemed ineligible. So the parents in the code language, if it is that, then the next step is board. If it's denied, if your eligibility, your waiver is denied by administration, the board also has to approve that.
The board has ultimate decision.
That's
Is what it comes to, even if it's ineligible by paper. We can make the decision
yes.
that we understand it's ineligible, but we're going to go forward with allowing it.
Yes.
Which would be consistent with the open enrollment rule. Superintendents can approve open enrollments, but they can't deny. And so that's why I brought all of these to the Board of Education, because the superintendents can approve, but they can't deny.
We've approved these students for open enrollment generally, though, right, for into the classroom. Most of these students are coming.
If they meet.
They're coming for open enrollment, right? Academically, they're coming for open enrollment.
We don't approve open enrollment.
I'm saying, and,
The,
if a student is coming here from New London, let's just pick on that. And we approve them coming in, right? But then we can still have them be ineligible for the first 90 days of the year by sports, even though we said, yep, they're gonna be a student here for the whole year. You just can't do sports.
You wouldn't be doing that. They would be ineligible by this policy. We couldn't, or you couldn't, overturn this and say, we're gonna
Because New
let them
London
be
is
eligible.
making that decision.
Correct. New London is the only one that could
All right,
say,
so-
the
we don't
resident
care,
district
you go
has to
ahead,
be.
you can have them, and they can be eligible in your school, and then we could still say, no, we're gonna stick to this and not be eligible, but we couldn't overturn this if they said no.
So I guess in our situation, it's, yeah, students are going to Waco or New London, wherever.
Resident students to
are
Mount
going to Waco.
Pleasant.
We understand we're not getting the funding from them for the year, academics. And then they wanna do sports. Let's just say they wanna do football. You can't do football because it's the first 90 days of the year, right? If we don't approve them, even though they're gone, we're not getting any finances. We're just holding their athletics.
Varsity participation.
Okay, let's call it a senior that's played varsity football, right, in the past. Yep, we're just holding their athletics just because we can. Versus that student wants to run track in the spring only. They can go run track, no, nothing, don't do anything about it, because it's past the 90 days, right?
Because they say the first 90 days. Correct.
Because of this form. I'm not saying it's a problem with us in particular, I think it's student state policy myself.
Oh.
But if we have the option to go against it, I would go against it. I fully understand a student coming here, or a student coming to Mount Pleasant, then going to New London, then going to Danville. But if we're taking all of these case by case, and we can see it, why don't you grant it?
If you're asking me why you wouldn't grant it, it would be because if I want to go play football in New London, I can go play football in New London. And so if we have signed off on these, and we'll say that New London generally signs off on these, so the kid goes and plays football in New London, and they say, man, we're not gonna be very good in basketball, I think I'm gonna go back to Mount Pleasant. Well, why wouldn't we sign off on that now? We signed off on it the first time, why wouldn't we sign off on it the second time? Why shouldn't they sign off on it the second time? The kid can come back.
Because then you're going back to the intent of this. You're saying the intent of this is to keep kids from jumping from one school to another school. I'm not saying that kids jumping from one school to another school to another school. If they wanna leave here, play football at Waco, and then stay at Waco. If they play football at Waco, come back here for basketball, go to New London for track or baseball, that's jumping. That's a case-by-case situation where they have to get signed off on, right?
No.
We probably wouldn't know that if they didn't come back to us. You're only gonna know the one time that they jump to you or jump from you. You're probably not gonna know us
But every
another
district
time.
should be doing this research, right?
I'm never gonna see these from another school. This is strictly for the state. So this is a paper that I would take care of. I would put in my eligibility folder, and I would only ever use it if the state needed it from me. That's all this form is doing. It's not following the kid. It's not part of their CUME folder. It's not part of their file. It's not part of a records request. It's just a
But at the
form.
beginning of this, you said that you do the research, that the kid was the kid enrolled in, or did athletics beforehand?
School they came from.
That they did athletics. So, I guess I don't see, if you're doing the research and say that the kid was doing football and then goes to another school, well, that other school's gonna say, did the kid do football before us, now that he wants to do wrestling? And then the next school says, let's say he goes for baseball somewhere else. Well, did the kid do wrestling somewhere else?
I would never,
me.
yeah, I would never know that. I mean, when a kid comes here, I'm going with their Q file, where they come from last, and I'm gonna contact that school. Would this student have been eligible in your school district today? If they would have been, then I am going to assume that they would be eligible in our school district today. And then I would check their academic eligibility, and then from there, that kid would be good unless there's reason to believe that I need to go verify address of this kid and jump through each part of this form. I wouldn't go back to the school prior or try to figure out any of their history. I wouldn't even know how to do that, to be honest.
But we would know if they transferred out to play sports and they wanted to come back, you know, second semester, then you know they'd be jumping back and forth.
Yeah, we had that happen last year.
I mean,
Yeah.
so how much of it do you follow the students, you know, what about the transcripts? You can see how often they've moved schools by
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know, is that something you follow when somebody open enrolls or wants to move, go to another school?
No, I checked for academic eligibility, which would be 1 year prior to us.
I can absolutely see this happening, based on, a student wants to leave their resident district, and if boards have made it a practice of approving and waiving the 90-day ineligibility that's in law, it's in the code, if boards have made a practice of that, I can absolutely see students going from the resident district to play a sport and to open enroll and play a sport in another district and then return to their home district. You can always return to your home district and then be presented by and then the board be presented with that same scenario. Well, you've approved this. How do you make a case for not approving them if this is the position that the board has taken?
Because you're going back to the intent of the rule of not getting people to hop. If you go one place, if you're just going from one school to another and you're staying there, in my mind, that's not hopping. If you're going from one school to another school, and either back or to another school,
How do you know that's not the intent when the first time that it happens?
if they're staying.
But we don't know that when you
You're right.
when you
don't
approve or
know.
deny, you don't know if they're staying for more than 90 days or a semester.
I think that's why the state code developed good cause recommendations. You can't fully know intent because we're not in their shoes, but you can ask or have qualifying, entities that the state deems, yeah, this is eligible for a waiver. And in my eyes, that's the guidance that we need to follow. They have made an Iowa code that says this, and they're recommended good causes. And the law recommends that anything outside of that be denied.
How long will we have that rule? I'm just curious, because this
So,
did you stay?
this whole thing has always been in place. It wasn't until 2021 that the good cause rules came into effect. So after COVID, is when all of that was established with good cause. You know, and I see where some of that makes sense, but, you know, going back to the scenario of the Van Buren student, and the part that I didn't speak to was that the student was going to live with their dad in Hillsborough. Part of that is the kid, if my wife and I separate today, the kid today decides what district they're going to live in. And so that is their district that they're eligible in. So if I move to Iowa City and my wife stays here and my kids stay with my wife, they are only eligible in one school district. That's Mount Pleasant. If 2 months from now, my kids decide, I don't want to live with mom anymore, I'm going to live with dad, my kid is not eligible in Iowa City because they made that choice to stay at that time.
So Scott, the open enrollment students that we're getting in, that would be participating in varsity sports like this fall, are other school districts waiving the athletic eligibility period?
Never.
Or are they denying as well?
Never once. I have a girl that's been here since spring break last year. She came to every day of track practice, got to participate in one JV track meet all year. She's out for cross country right now. She won't participate in anything unless someone runs a separate JV race, and then she'll be eligible for basketball.
I thought it was just varsity.
It is. We don't have JV track meets that are run separate. We don't have JV cross-country meets very often that are run separate. So those are two sports that I think it hits the hardest because you can't participate against varsity athletes. And so if they're running JV and varsity together, then you can't participate against a varsity athlete.
Do you feel recruiting is a part of this?
Absolutely. Always no, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk to kids all the time, and whether it's a travel team or a club that they go to, you know, people are constantly asking kids to come here. Hey, come be our 132 pounder. We don't have anybody. You be varsity on our team. You know, and I would say, I can speak to a girl that's in Washington. She came from Clear Creek, Amana. Dad took a job in Muscatine, and he needed to be within 1 hour of Muscatine. So yeah, there was some recruiting to figure out where she was going to go to school.
But that would be good cause because they moved.
No, they just moved. They moved and stayed within 1 hour of where his job was going to be, moved into that district, so they're totally eligible.
Right, you can move. A high school
Anytime.
senior could move residents, like an 18-year-old could move residents and participate
That's what I'm saying.
without being open enrolled, because they're not open enrolled.
It's a new district.
Yep.
Home district.
Yeah, that's right there. Is a student 18 years of age or emancipated, yes or no?
And that's happened before.
Yep.
We're not gonna hear those because they're approved, and it's gonna go through the normal process again. The board is only hearing the ones that are being denied.
I mean, how often is it that students moving or trying to switch mid-year? Is this happening more? Are you seeing it? Is it more from 1 year to another, so it's affecting all sports more, or?
I wouldn't say there's much consistency to that. I mean, I would say you have your transient families, you know, just in general. I think that's always been the case. And I don't know, I feel like it just happens all the time. I mean, I think a lot of it is I'm not happy with this or that, and I'm gonna do this somewhere else. You know, I think that's a lot of it. Now there's more opportunities to do that. I mean, generally people aren't leaving because they love everything about where they're at. So something has happened, and I think that's also why people don't move. You know, if I hated everything about here, I'd just move. But I don't necessarily hate everything about here, but I don't like this, so I'm gonna try to find a different option.
Other questions or scenarios?
Well, I haven't seen the form, so thanks for bringing the form.
No problem. No problem. I don't know what I did to the screen.
If you drop it, maybe I can pick it up.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
We're going to pause before our next action item.
Yes.
Focus.
helpful for this next item.
Thank you.
So I wanted to give you an update. I told you I would give you a picture update on the buildings and grounds projects that we've had going on. And so I tried to go in order here. So I know it's hard, it's difficult to get around everything and see everything if you're not in the buildings all the time. But so the first thing on the list there in the high school is we did a number of rooms with new carpet and paint. It's just a couple of pictures of the new carpeting that we laid down here in the high school. Good addition. Just holler if you have questions. We'll go down through these. I wanted to show you. You probably have seen or rolled over the new concrete that we have sectioned out. I'll show you these, and then I'll show you as well kind of what we're. This is of course the front drive. We do about $100,000 each year in concrete repair, and so we look for the worst sections and trying to update those sections. I'll show you what they kind of look like before. This is all high school parking lot. This was Jones Contracting that had the bid or the quote on these. So this is what I wanted to show you. If you don't, if you really don't venture out into the lot, this is what it looks like. Obviously, before the repairs, we're getting a lot of this concrete it's original. It's 26 years old, and so you can see what we're little by little trying to replace. It's sand and salt and rain and washed out over time. It gets to be, that's one of the worst spots there in the high school lot. And so we're picking away at it. Let's see the repair bin. This is at the back side of the school. As you go out that back door, a lot of that concrete is really, you can see how checked it has gotten. And then what happens is those checks take in moisture and ultimately they pop. And so we've been trying to replace that as well. That's a good picture of what that looks, what the checked up spots look like. And again, just sand and salt and everything over time. Really causes it to deteriorate. Not only looks bad and then it gets worse, but it creates a hazard, a trip and fall hazard as well. Get your toe caught in this. So that's the high school. I'm moving on to the middle school. One of the as far as we did the parking paint as well. The roof edge repair is not complete, but we have the carpet paint and the concrete. I'm now at the middle school. We have a small section of sidewalk on the west and north of the building that we replaced was very uneven. It just seen a lot of wear over time, so we replaced that. This probably doesn't do justice to the change in the lighting at the middle school because we did replace. We went to all LEDs at the school and all of the hallways. Really, really brightened up the place. Looks much, much, much better. So this is just kind of a look down the hallway, but just a big change in the atmosphere of the building with those new LEDs.
I thought it was a previous middle school yearbooks, should have said.
That would show the difference. Yeah, so that was a really good change. This is just a picture of the smoke detectors. We replaced the smoke detectors throughout the building. Now I'm moving to Lincoln Elementary. This is the rebuild of the seclusion room at Lincoln. These are the increase in size was mandated by code, and so we had to increase the size on all of our seclusion rooms. This particular room, we took down a wall that went across here, and it really did open up. I'll give you this picture right here. This is standing in the room. This was, because of the wall, it was really two different rooms. So it did open up the classroom a bit, and then this was all re-studded and drywalled and painted. Looks like it belongs there. So hopefully, we never like to use the seclusion rooms, but we do have them. It does now meet code.
Hey, John, how big do they have to be?
I was trying to, Dr. Butler, what are they?
I wanna say 56 square feet.
56 square feet, I believe that's correct. We can check on that,
Okay,
Mark.
I'll check for it right now. It's staying on my brain.
There's some ongoing work here. These were the basketball poles at Lincoln. This one has been replaced, actually. So this one replaced with a new adjustable height, top-notch. Porter is the brand, but a top-notch breakaway basketball pole. So the others will be replaced as well. And this one, as I said, has been installed. This picture doesn't do justice either to the hallways to this north hallway at Van Allen. It was really dingy. It was really hard to see going down that hallway, and these were all replaced with LEDs. Made a huge difference in the hallway lighting.
It's much brighter,
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And you can see the difference walking in the front door. My
Yeah.
daughter right away can see all the way at the back
There
of
you go.
the hallway and say, something's different. I can
Yeah.
see better.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. So that was the work there. This is Van Allen again. We're at various stages of getting these basketball poles installed here. Just a couple of pictures. Wanted to show you as well. You've probably seen this is the new masonry work on the exterior of Van Allen. You can see this joint right here is where we stopped last year, and then this summer, about 2/3 of it was removed and replaced. And they do such a great job. Oker Masonry has done such a great job. You can see this this side has been done, the upper gym, and then along this wall. And so, again, if you're familiar with Van Allen, back to the north over here, I think that's where Chad has said that we'll jump back to for the next phase of this, is to go back on the north addition on the west side, because we've already done the east side before we go further here. And that's what he has mentioned to me. You guys might have other ideas on it. So, they just do such a great job. It looks so nice. And this is really what is going to make a huge difference as well, because the guttering, on all of the building had been sitting on top of the wall, which was to me, it's just a huge design error. All of that water sitting on top of that masonry wall. So the guttering has been dropped down, and sits on the wall instead of on top of it. You can see it there as well. They redid all that guttering. It looks great. So look at it there. You can see the difference between the old. New bathroom partitions in Van Allen as well. Really nice. Boys' side, this is the girls' side. This is Harlan now. New painting, just new striping for parking at Harlan. And then the other thing that we did at Harlan was the seclusion room had to be bigger, and so I've got another picture here. to give
It
you
is 56 square feet, it has to be 7
Okay.
feet between walls.
Okay. So,
Where is that in Harlan?
right, so, Eric, if you, what's the best way? It's down near the music room, opposite the music room. So if you are on the, if you're on the south end of the building, on the west side, if you go through those doors down there.
Yep.
So you go through the doors and then the kind of that vestibule, and then you're right there. You've got the music room, and then next to it is this area here. This is Salem, moving down to Salem. We did replace this concrete up to the, this would be the, kind of the northwest door. And that concrete did not have the correct pitch on it, and water was coming back to the building, so we had all of that replaced. And the striping in Salem as well. Now down to Central Campus. This is a picture of one of the locker rooms, and it's kind of hard to tell. These were concrete. They were painted concrete. The paint was all flaking up from the concrete, and so this is an epoxy resin with flake in it. They did a really nice. I've had some experience in other districts with this being put down. I was a bit hesitant. Chad wanted to go ahead with it. They did a really nice job on this. They did a really good job on getting this down, getting the corners right, making it look really good. And that's the hallway. That would be the east hallway that they did. So they did the hallway, the locker room, and the stairs. It's just looking down the hallway to the north there. Another picture of one of the different locker rooms. So this, I wanted to give you a picture of this. This wasn't on the, this was in conjunction with the rooftop unit replacement. So I just wanted you to see all of this duct sock, D-U-C-T, duct sock, is new. This is on the south side of the activity center, going down the hallway from east to west, and this will allow us to condition and control the climate, on that, end of the building, which was, we weren't able to do that. It's not built that way. This is the unit, air handling unit, or the heating cooling unit. It's in the southeast corner, and so that duct sock that I was showing you there is here, and it runs to the west. And I've got another picture of this is that same duct sock carrying the treated conditioned air going back to the north.
You said the windows were replaced, right? Is
They were.
that, last decal is it going? I haven't driven by it.
It is not up, and that is, I'll just tell you, that is not for lack of trying on our end. We have made several phone calls to Sherwood awning and signs, so we gotta get that in. It's like the last piece of the checkerboard, you know, that needs to go up there. This is just showing some of the work that's been done on the chapel. If you remember, prior to some of this work, it looked more like this here, really safety concerns with the mortar falling out, and then the stone actually falling out. So Over Masonry has been working on the entrances there. They've done such a really nice job as they've put material back into those areas and then blended it in. Of course, that blend in over time as well. But you can see where they've done it on the archways here. All of this was deteriorating. And a safety hazard. This is on the east entrance exit. You can see, as you guys probably were aware, all this was it was falling out. It was falling apart. This is the stage at the chapel. As you remember, one of the projects that we approved was the extension on the stage. There was a temporary extension that had been built. It was framed up with 2x4s and such, and what there was about a 3/4 inch lip right here that was higher, and so it really was a trip hazard. And so this is one of our projects. Wiley Construction made a permanent extension to the stage area. You can see it's nice and flush now. Just another look at it there.
And we lost the seat.
We did, yeah. There was some seating right now. I mean, it would have put you like the front row of the theater. So we did. I think it was about 10 seats, Melinda, that we lost on each side there. The center steps there going up to the big stage. This just in the district section there, mower replacement. This was we traded a mower and bought this. They're called a bad boy mower. I don't know that we would do it again based on the assessment of those who are mowing regularly. There was a cost difference, definitely. It was cheaper than a new Skag, but they just don't feel that it mows as nice as the Skag does. So,
I've heard it's not a commercial brand.
what's that?
I've heard it's not good for a commercial brand.
This particular brand?
So,
Several of just a few of the other things in the district here, our buses are in, they are on routes. They ran this morning, so this is a picture of you can always know that it's an LP, a liquid propane bus, because of the green bluebird, that's up there. So this is one of our new LP buses. Just a few pictures, very sharp, very handsome looking buses. They are. No, they could be, yeah, depending on how you, Ted Carlson, went with me to the radio station today. We talked about transportation and some of the safety things, and so, each one of these buses now, as per code, when you buy them, they have to be outfitted, with, seat belts, and so it's just a picture of the belt systems there. This is looking from the back.
they have forced putting the seatbelts on or anything.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's actually board policy. When we started purchasing buses with the seat belts, we went to the standard policy of you have to wear the belt. They just don't have much trouble with it because, kids nowadays, you get in your vehicle, you put your seat belt on, and that's really what they do.
I assume the cameras got installed in China then, if they're.
That's a great question, Aaron. I don't know on these last two buses. I know they didn't want to put them in service without the cameras, but I will find out on that because they had it scheduled. So let me just find out for you on that. I wanted to show you as well. This is in the new. We're now operating out of the new bus facility, and this is a picture of the bus lift. And so Ted doesn't have to crawl under buses anymore. Roll right up on there and get them up in the air. The bus lift is over here, and then this is an automotive lift over here for vans and whatever lighter vehicles that we have. Just another picture of the bus on the.
So we do have the bus drivers going out of the RTM location.
That is correct, yes.
Awesome.
Just a couple of the other things that were on here, the pallet racking, or the storage. This is in the maintenance building. Working on getting all of that up. That's the end of my pictures.
On that racking up there,
Yeah.
are they going to, just from experience, put a bar halfway up on the back so they don't damage the wall?
I can ask that question, Mark. Can you explain it a little better?
See how the bars that go across it, you put your pallets on?
Right.
Take one of them halfway up between the two levels, because if not, they'll run into the back of the
Okay,
tin and
okay.
damage all that tin.
Okay.
So it's like adding another one in the back.
Yeah. Just from work experience.
Yep, okay.
We find it more on the bottom when you angle iron, right in front of the bottom of the wall, so that if you're trying to shove that in.
Right. Great point. I will check on it. Okay. So I wanted to show you that, and then the the last thing that I have, it's in your packet, I didn't have it to project tonight, but the Facilities and Master Plan Ad Hoc Committee, I met with Steve Murley on Thursday, August 21. And we just talked, at length about his experience with facilitating this kind of a committee. And he's well processed in Iowa City, after he left Iowa City and went to Green Bay, Wisconsin, similar process, and is currently assisting a school district in Virginia with their master planning process. He suggested a general meeting that would be open to the public, designed to provide information about the work of the ad hoc committee. We'll just invite everybody in, and he would share, this is the work that we're going to be going through. He was very comfortable and suggested a committee size. I had said we were looking at 30 from various groups, numbers of people from various groups. He said, I think you could definitely go anywhere from 30 to 40 and still be able to break out into small groups and give, so that people feel like they have the opportunity to be heard at the table. And then he will be getting a proposal to me for that. I talked with him via email today. He was asking me for some of the documents that we have already, gone through, some of the things that I've already shared with you, some of the enrollment information, some of the master planning that we went through last year. So I've shared a Google folder with him with all of those things in it, and he said I'm excited to have the conversations with you. So more to come on that. That's all I have.
What cost is it?
I'm waiting for his proposal. Yep. So, and I will get that to you.
All right. I'm adjourning the meeting at 8:33. Enjoy El Treasures. We'll see you next week for the meetings.
Right? Yeah, Thursday and Friday, not this Thursday, Friday.